recruiting numbers are at the Army and the Navy and the Air Force, they can't reach their quotas each month. They can't find enough people to join our military forces. And there are those who are undocumented who want the chance to serve and risk their lives for this country. Should we give them the chance? I think we should.
Yes. I'm sure that platoon full of illegals, they're going to refuse to fire on you and your family because of the oath they just took to the Constitution that they wiped their butt with as soon as they crossed the border. Joining me now, my friend Ryan Girdusky of the great 1776 Project PAC, the one that's winning school board races. Ryan, you heard that loser Dick Durbin, and you took a shot at him about the French Foreign Legion. I loved it. I cracked up. But sadly, it probably went over everybody's head. What are you talking about, the French Foreign Legion? I thought they were super successful, Ryan.
Yeah, the French Foreign Legion was the French, because when they had an empire, used to hire Africans to patrol Africa, and it didn't always turn out great because oftentimes the Africans would then just turn on their French generals in the line of combat, and instead of shooting on their their brothers in Algeria and in other parts of Africa. It didn't ever work out too well, and neither did the Roman Empire when their entire military was controlled by foreigners towards the end of the empire. And time again, the countries that have sat there and exported their military defense to those who are not citizens failed miserably. Maybe the question should be, do we need, in the United States in 2023, do we need a 1 million-person standing army? Do we need to be patrolling the entire globe? Do we need entangling alliances? Do we need troops in parts of this world that no one knows why they're there or why they're there for decades on end? Do we need troops in both Italy and Germany, as if World War II is going to start over again? These are questions worth asking. And does anyone else in the world ever have to pay for the contributions of the United States military, which is costing us upwards of $1 trillion a year in military spending? Maybe those are the questions we should be answering, rather than saying there's just no more young, mostly white guys from the Midwest to put in the meat grinder anymore. This is a problem.
It is a problem, Ryan. And actually, let's talk about this problem. How did this happen? Because most people educated in America's government school system do not understand that this country was founded on staying out of other people's business. George Washington's famous farewell address talked about it. Up until World War I, every American, like 98% of the country, just assumed we don't get involved in other people's business. Now, we're everywhere. That's 100 years ago, Ryan. What changed in 100 years?
Well, in the aftermath of World War II, we had the Cold War, obviously. And then after the Cold War, there was a restructuring over the obligations of the American nation. It was George H.W. Bush's new global order that we would promote liberalism all over the world. George W. Bush's son said that we would make the world free for democracy. That was what the war we were fighting for, which is an impossible war, an impossible fight, and something you cannot possibly ever win. And this ongoing military expenditures to sit there and reorganize the entire globe has been an utter failure for 30 years. If anything, we've seen fewer democracies functioning across the entire world. We've had a rise of authoritarian leaders, even in places like Turkey, where we had somewhat of a democracy beforehand, and basically uniparty states like in India and somewhat in Pakistan. This is the way the world has been moving, and we kind of don't have an ability to sit there and change it. And I think that a lot of people sit there and wonder, what were the last 30 years in Afghanistan and Iraq for? Why should I risk my life and limb and mental health status for a country that, one, doesn't respect veterans all that much, and two, for a country that for a lot of people feels like they are under assault domestically?
Yeah, it feels like they're under assault domestically because they friggin' are. Speaking of which, here's Alejandro Mayorkas announcing his intention to give about 30 million people the right to vote in this country.
The answer is quite clear and quite straightforward, and we've been waiting for it for about 30 years. And that is to fix a system that everyone agrees is fundamentally broken, and we need congressional action, both for the lawful pathways that really need to be more robust in statute, and for the 12 million people who are here in the United States who have been contributing so fundamentally to our country's well-being.
I really hate how he talks, but that's another matter entirely. Ryan, I was thinking about this after that nutball was stabbing a bunch of people in Ireland, and then they cracked down on the people who got mad about it. I was thinking how wild it is that not just America, all the Western governments just decided to flood their countries with third world hordes and then crack down on their own people for caring about it. And this was universal practically across the West. It's amazing how this thing happened.
And it's amazing to see the countries that it didn't happen in. The Western countries that opposed it, like Denmark. Denmark, Bernie Sanders' favorite country, has super secure borders. They crack down on welfare. They break up minority ghettos all the time in Denmark. And they have no qualms about it because the idea of their nationalism, their idea of their identity is not something up for debate really in that country. But look, here's the thing about immigration that no one seems to understand. They keep asking for this congressional action. 95% of all of our problems with immigration reside exclusively on the executive branch. The executive branch does almost every law that you possibly would need to fix the immigration problem at the snap of a finger. The executive branch can declare Mexico a third safe country, which would end all migration from other countries who shop for a country to declare asylum in. The executive branch can solely withhold anyone that they want, any person they're choosing, any person they deem not to the benefit of the United States from entering this country. If that meant all redheads, if that meant all Asians, if that meant all Europeans, if that meant
Italians,
anybody without a college degree, anybody, they can deem it. It's the executive branch that is failing. There are some things Congress can do, but most of the things that we need to get done in immigration are solely in the hands of the presidency. It has always been that way. The president really doesn't need Congress for much when it comes to immigration. It is Joe Biden's failing on this policy solely.
Okay, so if you get a president like the one we have now that wants to flood the country with illegals to water down and destroy this place, you're pretty much screwed? Do I have that right?
Yes, you are 100%. The president could instantly declare remain in Mexico. The president can use the military to build the border wall. The president can sit there and attack, people who are bringing asylum seekers, not NGOs, but human smugglers. Could instantly declare them to be domestic terrorists or international terrorists. There's tons of things the president could do without the use of Congress, and they choose to do nothing because this is by design.
Okay, you know what? There's enough ugly out there. Let's talk about something wonderful, Ryan. Everyone's looking, the people who are looking at 2024 with clear eyes understand what's coming and how ugly it's going to be, but they don't focus on school boards. They focus on one big race and, it's going to be lost, but we're going to win a bunch of school board races in 2024 if we focus, aren't we, Ryan?
Yes, March starts off the kickoff in Missouri. School boards start in Missouri in March. By May, they reach Texas, where your home state, and in August, they're in Florida. There are 20,000 school boards up for elections next year. Not most, but half of them are not during the presidential election. So half of them are throughout the entire year. The other half are during the presidential election. And many of them are nonpartisan. There's very easily ways a conservative can sit there and get elected in a more liberal-leaning area or a swing area if they campaign on the right things, if they speak to the right people, and if they campaign and work hard. I think that's totally possible. I think that we could really reform public education in a real way.
Yeah, I just wish there was an organization out there who could help people do these things. Is there an organization like that, Ryan?
Why, yes, there is. I founded the 1776 Project PAC. We are doing a major relaunch in the new year. We're doing a major expansion in the new year to work on reforming state laws, which I'll announce on your show when it comes up. And we are really pushing and going. We won over 100 school board elections this year, which doesn't seem like much, but it's probably about 250,000 kids who live now in conservative school board districts. And we are just getting started. There's a lot more effort to do. And, the PAC support from average people in this PAC, for everyday people, means the world, and it's what keeps us going, and it's what funds. I think we spent over $1 million this year now on school board elections, and like I said, we're just getting started. 1776 Project PAC. I stand behind this organization 100%.
100 school board races. Do you have any idea how many children's lives now and in the future that changed? Go support them. Ryan, my brother, I appreciate you. Come back anytime. Always love that. All right. Now, there's a debate coming up tomorrow night. One of these Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Vivek, and Christie debates. Does it matter? Well, what does matter? We're going to start voting soon? Let's talk to Sean Spicer about these things in just a moment. Before we get to that, let's do this. You know you're not stuck in your timeshare. They've lied to you. These timeshare companies do this all the time. Don't feel like you're some kind of exclusive case. You're just the one who got suckered. They do this to everyone. It's what they do. You go in, you buy it, you think, hey, when I'm done with it, I can be done with it. And then they let you know, sorry, it's yours forever. Pay your annual fees, pay your special assessments. And so people walk away, shoulders slumped. Oh, dang it, I have it forever. You don't have it forever. Lone Star Transfer is there to get you out. 99% of the time, they're successful getting people legally and permanently out. Give them a call, all right? 844-310-2646. You're one phone call away from being free of your timeshare. Call. We'll be back. All right, there's a debate tomorrow night. Another one of these Republican primary debates. No Trump, of course, but you got Christie and Vivek and Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. I wonder what Sean thinks of all this. He always has the best analysis on this stuff. Joining me now, Sean Spicer, the great Sean Spicer Show, which is now at 7 p.m. new time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, right here on The First. Sean, okay, one, obviously no Trump, so the big boy's not in the room. But I don't think these debates are useless. The viewership is up on these things. 5 million people watch DeSantis take on Newsom, so that's something. What do we get out of these things?
Entertainment to some degree. I mean, to your point, Trump's not here. They're all significantly far behind in the polls, both in terms of the national ones, but most importantly in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. I think this is there's a good chance this could be the last one that we see for a while, at least the sanctioned ones. Look, as far as what you get, I think you get some entertainment, but it's not changing the field. No one's moving up or down based on it. I'm here in Tuscaloosa. I think it's an interesting dynamic. I'm glad that they're doing it. I feel like it makes sense to go through the process to preserve this. And I'll tell you why, Jesse, just real quick. I worked really hard in 2016 for the first time ever in the history of either party to wrestle away from the left-wing media the ability to control the primary debates. And if this goes back to allowing the media to dictate when our candidates debate, and trust me, they're going to come back to no conservative moderators, 25 debates, which is what it was in 2012. That's not good for our candidates. So I think maintaining and preserving the process does serve a long-term value that needs to be maintained. Because when I got over to the RNC, literally these guys, one night we debated on a Saturday and then we had another debate on a Sunday. The two most valuable things in any campaign are time and money, and debates are sucks of both.
Yeah, no, they really are. Christie's out there. Obviously, he's only in the race to attack Trump. He's only been in the race to attack Trump, but here he was saying this.
How about this? He's going to go on trial the day before Super Tuesday. I believe he's going to be convicted in that January 6th trial in Washington, D.C. He's going to be convicted. Imagine this. If he's our nominee, he won't be able to vote for himself.
But he can be president.
Yes.
Okay, people can hate Christie and hate that all they want. I don't care for the man one iota myself. He's not necessarily wrong about that, Sean. Donald Trump, if we are correct, or if the polls are correct, he is the nominee. He's going to be a convicted felon by the time Election Day rolls around. There's no other way around it, unjust as it may be. Where does that put us?
Well, I think you heard Neil Cavuto say it in the clip. The American people, in particular, primary voters, decided that with all the information that they have, and they know about this. I mean, he's been indicted 4 times. It's not like you literally have to be on not to know that. And they still have accepted Donald Trump as the person they want to be the nominee. Furthermore, when asked in the battleground states and the national polls, when it comes to a general election, they're choosing him over Joe Biden. So at the end of the day, the process is such that people are deciding with the baggage, with all the things they know, Donald Trump is still the one that they want in the party. And then as a president to lead this country forward. The people have spoken. And I think people can, Christie can get upset all he wants, but Neil Cavuto's point is still the same. He can serve as president. I don't agree. I think that the process might be such that some of these will have gotten into potentially a conviction, but I guarantee you he's going to be appealing all of them. And so, look, the process will work itself out, but so will the will of the American people. And right now, the will of the American people, both in the primary process and the general, is such that they want Donald Trump to be the next president.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see in Iowa if he is that far ahead, Sean. If the polls are to be believed, and he is really that far ahead, and Iowa comes down, and Donald Trump boat races everyone else in the race. Do you think that clears the field? I know the Jamie Dimons of the world have lined up behind Nikki Haley. I know Ron DeSantis has a very serious presidential campaign going. Do they all wake up if that happens in Iowa and say, hey, I'm done, it's not worth it?
You're asking the right question, because here's what this all comes down to, Iowa. In real estate, they say location, location, location. For this political cycle, It's all Iowa, Iowa, Iowa. Here's the deal. There are 40 delegates at stake in Iowa on January 15th, on that Monday. The thing that makes Iowa very unique is that when you vote in a primary, you go to your school or fire station, wherever, you cast your ballot and you walk out. In the Iowa caucuses, we're talking 2-3 hours that you publicly have to stand in a VFW, a fire station, a school, a government building, and go through an iterative process over the course of hours to announce your support for a particular candidate. So it is truly an organizational effort like no other. So just being able to say that you want Donald Trump and raise your hand in a poll or answer a poll or show up in this, it's going to be a very different thing. And I will tell you, having been in Iowa, the ground game of President Trump is leaps and bounds ahead of where it was in 2015. But Ron DeSantis should not be taken lightly in terms of the number of people that their super PAC has gotten to sign caucus commitment cards. Does that mean anything? No. But if he can get those people to show up, you're talking about a universe of about 200,000 people that will be voting in the Iowa caucuses. And I say that because these things have a history of people from behind going forward. And I think the Trump campaign, from my conversations with them, fully understands the importance of the ground game in Iowa, and they're ready for it. But they understand everything's at stake. If DeSantis can score a victory there, this race goes on. But if Trump pulls out a strong win in Iowa, he will then roll through New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina, and it's over. But Iowa is the key to everything right now.
Sean, how does that look if DeSantis does pull it off? Because I've heard the exact same things you've heard, that DeSantis' ground game is second to none, that he might shock some people. If he does, does the campaign limp on? Does that launch him up to be a neck and neck with Donald Trump? What do we think? An Iowa win is a must for him, but what does it do? Does it keep him on life support, or does it put him in even? Does he draw even with Trump in the primary?
So that's the $1 million question. I'll flip it first. If he loses in Iowa by more than 10 points, he's over. Game out. He's out. I think Nikki Haley will try to stick around. If he can score a victory, I think that changes the dynamic. The donors then line up behind him. You've heard the media narrative in the past week and a half. Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley. If DeSantis can pull out a win or a close second, and I mean a really close second in Iowa, I think the donors and the media then switch back over to DeSantis. And then I think the question is, will he be a one-trick wonder, or can he pull something out in New Hampshire or South Carolina? South Carolina is going to be a lot bigger of a challenge because Nikki Haley is the favorite daughter there. But I think what I will say is that it's going to change the dynamic, meaning that's when things are going to get mixed up real quick. Does Trump shuffle the deck and try to maybe get rid of some folks that he had? But you think about the last three winners, Ted Cruz, Mike Huckabee, Rick Santorum. Those folks were not doing particularly well early on, but they also weren't facing a guy like Donald Trump, who had been a two-time nominee, who had such an insurmountable lead. So it's one thing to go from 4% to 20%, which is what a lot of those guys did.
Yeah. John, my man, I appreciate it. It is the Sean Spicer Show. every single weeknight, 7 p.m. now Eastern time on the First TV. We're not done yet. We have more. Democrats, they have a poop problem. Well, you know what? Just hang on. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a moment. Before we get to that, let's do this. America has a problem, a testosterone problem. It's bad. How bad is it? America's testosterone levels have been cut in half in the last 50 years. Cut in half. That is, it's going to end the society. Look, you vote, don't vote. Unless we fix that problem, society ends. We won't be able to make enough new Americans, period. This is affecting men 15 to 95. Don't run down to the local clinic and get a shot in your arm. Handle it naturally. Chalk is natural herbal supplements. Get a male vitality stack, fellas. Female vitality stack, ladies. They have endless natural herbal supplements there, and it is the Christmas season. And Chalk honors Christmas with incredible sale prices. Everything's on sale right now, everything. Code JesseTV. Go to chalk.com and use the code JesseTV, all right? We'll be back. All right, it is time to lighten the mood. Even though this is probably going to be a little bit more serious than we usually do for lighten the mood, because here's the truth. America has a gut health problem. And I was not really aware of this until I started getting super into politics and started doing this kind of media for a living. I was not aware of how bad the digestive issues are in America, specifically with the Democrat Party. And gut health is really, really important. If you, show up at a climate conference and you fart, that's not good.
I find myself getting more and more militant because I do not understand how adults who are in position of responsibility can be avoiding responsibility for taking away those things that are killing people on a daily basis. And the reality is that those things that are killing people on a daily basis. And the reality is that
that wasn't a one-off either. Maybe you're thinking that was just John Kerry. Joe Biden, do you remember when Joe Biden met with the Pope? Joe Biden met with the Pope, and the media kind of buried this story. Joe Biden met with the Pope and then pooped his pants. He pooped his pants in front of the Pope. And look, it's not just a Joe Biden, John Kerry problem. Democrats have a gut health issue.
Uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
Work on this subject, not part of this package, but part of preserving our democracy. With that, I'm pleased to yield to the distinguished chairwoman.
And as I'm walking to the press room, I think I got to, pass a little gas here. So I'm walking by myself. Who's going to know? Only a little something extra came out.
You pooped in your pants?
I pooped my pants.
And we'll still believe that he cared enough about his wife to pay that was gas.
It's not hyperbole. It's about being made in America. A lot of that has to do with this industry.
I'll see you tomorrow.